Okay, here is the first installment of the video lecture series on illegal drugs. This is designed to accompany the stuff that we've been talking about in class about the legalization of marijuana, and it fits in with our second unit. This is stuff you won't find in your textbook anywhere. So you'll want to watch these videos, take notes on them just like you would if you were in class. And I'll probably ask you to present these notes to me at some time. I'll leave these videos up on YouTube indefinitely. That way you can watch these several times if you want to. You will be responsible for information on these PowerPoints just like if you were in class. I'm trying to save in-class time for the more interesting discussion-oriented stuff like the serial killer stuff that we've talked about. And the sex offender stuff that we've talked about, but this is important too. So we'll go ahead and get started. Some basic facts about drugs and society. In the United States, millions of lives are impacted daily by drug use and abuse. Billions of dollars are spent on purchasing illegal drugs everywhere in this country, and also billions of dollars are spent by our government every year to fight illegal drugs. So we've talked a little bit in class already about the decriminalization and even legalization of marijuana. And we've also talked a lot about the burden on taxpayers as we incarcerate so many drug offenders and the ramifications of such. So, some more basic facts about drugs and society in the U.S. Billions of dollars are also spent every year on rehabilitating users and abusers. It's estimated that illegal drug use, dependence, and acquisition play at least a part in 75% of all crimes committed in this country, and that is an astounding statistic. I'm also emailing you a link to a document. It's lengthy, it's like 70 pages long. You will not have to memorize the statistics, but I would like for you to be kind of looking at this as you're watching this video and taking notes. It gives you some really eye-opening statistics about drug seizure, arrest rates, incarceration, conviction rates, etc. So hopefully you'll be looking at that too before and after you do these notes. So where do the problems with drug abuse and dependence begin? Well, as you might imagine, it begins with the youth in society. It starts at a young age. You might be surprised to find out that many young people, I'm talking about children as early as grade school, middle school, they start experimenting with drugs in the medicine cabinets of their parents' homes where they live. They go through, they find stuff, they experiment with access to the internet and social media being prevalent. It's so easy for kids to get an education or maybe a miseducation on drugs, and it becomes also a matter of peer pressure to some extent and curiosity. They start experimenting, and then they move to getting drugs from their friends on the streets. Again, maybe obtained from their parents' cabinets or drawers, and they start swapping and trading. And it happens at a very young age. Once we get into the high schools, and I've taught classes in high schools for a very long time, a lot of my high school seniors will say it's very easy to get prescription medications like Adderall, stuff to help them stay awake, or really anything that you can think of, opiates, pain medications, OxyContin. More than half of all high school seniors have admitted to trying illegal drugs, and more than 75% of all high school seniors stated that they have consumed alcohol. And I honestly suspect that the numbers are actually a little higher than that, but those are pretty telling. Now, we talked about illegal drug use and then the associated problems with their contact with the criminal justice system, starting at a young age. There are juvenile drug offenders who get in trouble with the law because of their activities associated with the illegal drug use and that illegal drug culture. And it does start at a young age. Then what we know is that juvenile illegal drug use increased in the 1960s, and then from 1970 to 1980 continued to increase. We could talk about cultural reasons for that. During the 60s, you had the hippie culture. There was sort of an acceptance within an illegal drug subculture. After the 1980s, though, we start to see juvenile illegal drug use decrease. We had President Reagan's wife, Nancy Reagan, who came out with the Just Say No to Drugs campaign. Maybe you've heard of that. And so we start to see a campaign against and a, quote, war on drugs, end quote, if you will. So we start to see these numbers dropping slightly, and they continue to drop for juvenile illegal drug use. However, the numbers are still significantly high. More than 35 million people used or abused illegal or prescription drugs in 2007. If you fast forward to closer to today, that number is close to 40 million. In 2006, 1 million people entered public drug treatment facilities seeking to end their addiction to illegal or prescription drugs. In September of 2008, there were nearly 100,000 inmates in federal prisons convicted and sentenced for drug offenses. That's 52% of all federal prisoners convicted and sentenced for drug offenses. So we're spending a lot of our nation's time and resources and energies on drug abuse and addiction. We're also spending a lot of taxpayer dollars on the arrest, prosecution, and incarceration and subsequent treatment, in some cases, of drug offenders. So this has multiple layers of impact on our criminal justice system. In 2009, the federal government allocated more than $14 billion for drug treatment, drug prevention, counter-drug law enforcement efforts, and also international counter-drug assistance. So this is a really big issue that's not going away anytime soon. Again, with significant impact on the criminal justice system. We're going to call that the end of the first part of this lecture series. Thank you.